But check this out. You mentioned how interesting and how fascinating it is to watch this disaster, this debacle. It's probably more fascinating off the court and on the internet or on television than it is on the court at this point. So no shortage of headlines, as I mentioned. So I guess we'll come back to Vogel in a second. Let's go to Magic Johnson. You mentioned Anthony Davis running his mouth. Speaking of running his mouth, Magic Johnson's doing that. And I'll set aside the flaws in Magic Johnson's analysis of what could have been as it relates to DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso and KCP and so on and so forth. Because that salary cap math ain't math.
Buddy.
All right?
Buddy Hield.
Yeah, Buddy
Hield was
the whole
another
thing.
one.
Just
Dame.
set that aside.
Yeah.
But the Lakers are so screwed until Magic actually has a point. And one of the points he's made recently is that the Lakers. No, I mean this is how bad it. No, but he's right about this. I love Magic. I really love Winning Time. Sidebar: Winning Time gets better episode by episode. I don't know if you caught up, but every episode of Winning Time is just phenomenal. Magic said recently that the Lakers should just run it back with this core and not attach a first-round pick to Russell Westbrook in order to move Russell Westbrook, in order to facilitate a trade with that, what is it, $47 million he's owed last year, something ridiculous?
Right.
And I agree with that. Because what's that called? Throwing good money at bad? Or throwing good money after bad? It's like, I agree with that. Like, under the guise of continuing to try to dig yourself out of the hole you made for yourself, you would only be making things worse. You'd only be compounding the problem by forfeiting future assets. And that's where I go with Anthony Davis. All right, what could have been? Okay, cool. Well, let's see. Let's see if you have another year to build chemistry. If maybe we could convince Russell Westbrook to buy into a supporting actor role. And last but not least, and we'll certainly get to this in a macro sense, maybe you'll respond to a different voice, since you clearly checked out on Frank Vogel. But moving Russell Westbrook at all costs, I don't agree with that. So in this case, I agree with Magic.
You agree with Magic. You said he actually, how'd you say it again? He actually had a point? What'd you say?
I didn't mean it. Did it come off that bad? I didn't mean for it to be that bad. I'm sorry. I love Magic. I love Magic.
Yeah.
We all love Magic. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm saying he's right about something as it relates to the Lakers, because it's like, you know, it's like, you're right. Like, the worst thing you could do is just be like, you know what? Well, we messed that up. Let's screw ourselves even more by adding a future first round pick, you know?
I don't know I really don't know what they're going to do. There's really no way.
They're kind of limited. They're limited.
Yeah,
like, who's taking on Russell Westbrook? Even with an expiring contract, I believe he has.
So you have, you know what happened? All right, so whoever, the coach, if it's a coach worth something, this is somebody who comes in with leverage. You don't have to have another team that wants you. But if the Lakers want you, and you know their situation, you say, look, I need a 5 or 6 year contract. Because year one is probably going to be a continuation of the 2021-22 season. And I'm going to have to be the coach. I'm going to have to do what Frank Vogel wouldn't do. You know what that is? I'm going to ask Russell to come off the bench. Like, I may have to ask him to do that. I may think that, you know, we got 2 ball dominant guys who need to have the ball in LeBron and Anthony Davis, a healthy Anthony Davis in the starting lineup. I want those guys to be there. I want them to handle the ball. Russell is a little different. He's going to be the captain of my second unit. I'm going to ask him to come off the bench. He's going to play about anywhere between 29 and 32 minutes a game. And,
let me ask you this.
And he may be resistant to that. So I'm going to have to be the guy that tells him.
Is there a guy that, from whom that message may be better received than it would have been from Frank Vogel? NBA championship winning coach Frank Vogel, I may add. But
but there are 2 guys like that. One of them is already in Los Angeles. He's got a team, Ty Lue. I think Ty Lue could get that. And the other one
And
He's
the
doing
other
a really
one?
good job coaching. He's coaching his old team, and that's Jay Kidd in Dallas. I think he listened to those guys. I think, both of those guys at various levels have played on championship level teams. One guy is a Hall of Famer. So just from a point guard to point guard, I think he could hear Jason Kidd.
There was one
from
name.
a Ty Lue level, just championships.
Yeah.
Just having.
There was one name I thought
DNA.
you were going to back into. So this is from Bleacher Report. This is what I want to get to with you. Your mans. So the Lakers are still expected to part ways with embattled play caller Frank Vogel, sources told BR. Doc Rivers, the Philadelphia 76ers head coach, in case you didn't know, is another active bench leader being mentioned by league personnel as a potential Lakers candidate. So let me emphasize this phrasing. Doc Rivers is being mentioned by league personnel as a potential Lakers candidate. In other words, people just talking, okay?
Yeah.
Rivers has also been linked by several league sources as a potential replacement for the Jazz in the event Quinn Snyder does depart Utah. In this same article also attached Quinn Snyder and I think Mike Brown to the Lakers vacancy.
To the Doc Danny thing. Yeah.
The Utah part. Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you this, though, about Doc Rivers. So, that's fascinating. It's sexy.
It is.
If I'm Doc Rivers, Daryl Morey got to be so committed to James Harden, and James Harden has got to be so committed to throwing me under the bus. By the way, a couple of days ago, if you watched the post game where somebody asked Doc about the bench, and he's like, it was more James. He didn't throw James under the bus. He was talking about the unit that was in at the time, and that James was doing most of the scoring. So that was blown out of proportion. Shout out to Kareem. But let's say there is some friction here. Let's say there is some friction between Doc and James Harden, or James Harden, in exchange for re-signing with Philadelphia and recommitting to Daryl Morey, because you know how Daryl Morey feels about James Harden, wants to change at the head coach level. So maybe he pulls a Bruce Arians. All right, that's for you, Michael. I don't know the wing. That was just for you. I don't believe it, but that was just for you. Maybe the leverage from James Harden pushes Doc Rivers out the door. But if I'm Doc, my point is, if I'm Doc Rivers, unless it's so bad in Philadelphia that I'm looking for a gig, I don't find the Lakers' job to be a desirable destination. I don't think the Lakers' job is a good job for anybody with options. Like, I'd much rather coach perennial MVP Joel Embiid and try to figure it out with James Harden than go and be a part of that Lakers mess. The Lakers are the most glamorous family business in sports.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's nothing. But it's dysfunctional. And look, Magic could blame LeBron for choosing Westbrook over DeRozan all you want. The whole, the Genie bus, and she consults Magic Johnson, and he's got a voice, and the Rambuses and Pelinka. That whole dynamic is just funky to me, and I want no part of that. Yeah. If I'm somebody on the level of Doc Rivers, I'll take that job. Much like if I'm Frank Vogel and I just need a head coaching job, and I could do a lot worse than one of the most storied franchises in sports history, let alone NBA history. But I don't want those problems. I'm not trying to be the guy to figure out the LeBron James and Anthony Davis when he's available and the Russell Westbrook of it all. Like, no, thank you. Let that be somebody else's problem. Doc Rivers, I may love LA. I'll go to LA in the offseason. No, thank you.
I listen, I can make an argument for it. See, Doc Rivers is exactly the guy. That's exactly the guy I was talking about. Somebody who the Lakers want, and somebody who has leverage. So he was on the top 15 all-time coaches, right? One of the 15 best coaches in league history list. In the 75-year history of basketball. So that's a guy who's got a little bit of a name. He's got name value. Some players connect with him, some don't. Talk to Chris Paul. Some don't feel him. Ben Simmons, some players don't feel him, but a lot of players do. He spent 7 years with the Clippers. He's an LA guy. He was doing LA things. Because of that leverage, he can get a big contract. And how many coaches can say, I coached the Celtics and the Lakers, the two greatest franchises in the history of basketball? If you're a historian, if you're into that kind of thing, And if you're winding up your career as a coach, that's a nice thing to say. That's pretty good. And look, winning in Boston is great. It's also great to win in LA. If you can eventually turn this thing around in a couple of years.
Okay. That's a big ass if right there.
But
all
of
that sounds real good. Oh, what that mean? What that mean? Oh, that means you just got a nice parachute. That means you got a golden parachute. That don't mean nothing to the Lakers. They'll eat that in a second if they need to.
But look, it's not just all just like with the players. It's not all about basketball. So if you got a chance, okay, let's be real. Let's be real. I love you, Philly. Love you, Philly. But you're Doc Rivers. You got a chance of living in Philly or living in Los Angeles.
Oh, well, Michael.
What, right? I mean, that's part of it. That's part of it. I didn't say that's number
before
one.
LeBron, no, you didn't. But before LeBron James chose the Lakers in free agency, that was always their selling point. We're the Lakers. It's Los Angeles. Look at all the banners. Look at all the numbers. Look at the statues. Look at the stars. Look at the history. Look at the Hollywood sign. It was never basketball. That's why everybody was turning them down for all those years. And it's no different now.
That's why a lot of players were. I'm saying for Doc Rivers is not just like the
Doc
players.
Rivers, that sounds great on paper, going back to Anthony Davis, until you actually get there. You got to clean up that mess. That's a hell of a fixer-upper. It's an expensive fixer-upper in a nice neighborhood. That's a hell of a fixer-upper. And it sounds good.
But here's the other thing.
Unless they're going to give him all the power the way he had in Los Angeles when it was him and Lawrence Frank. Unless they're going to have all the power. I'm not trying to have Magic and Jeannie and Kurt and Linda and everybody and their mama. It's too much. No. And not to make no mention of LeBron and Rich Paul. Hell no. Right. There are way too many cooks in that damn kitchen. No, thank you.
You want to talk about... Okay.
Good luck with Ubuntu. Good luck getting them to say Ubuntu in LA.
Hey, listen, Ubuntu went out in Boston. That lasted like 2 years, and they were done with that. Then Rondo and Ray Allen were at each other's throats. So much for Ubuntu after like a year or two. But here's the other thing. I'm starting to buy this thing. I know it's just a rumor, but I'm starting to buy this rumor. Yeah. Here's the other thing.
You're buying your own
You want to talk about a do-it-yourselfer? I had a do-it-yourselfer in LA, the Clippers. I had Donald Sterling. I had the Donald Sterling Clippers.
It took him to greater.
You want to talk about?
I get it.
Do I know how to clean up a mess? Cleaned up the Clippers, didn't win a championship. Cleaned up the Clippers. In Boston, they had an 18-game losing streak. Next year, they win a championship. Hell, go to Lakers, who have salary cap problems.
He cleaned up the Clippers because he had personnel power. He had Chris Paul because of basketball reasons. Rest in peace, David Stern. Okay.
Got LeBron
Got Blake Griffin with the #1 pick. 37-year-old LeBron James. No.
And got Anthony Davis.
This is too much. Now he got Anthony Davis. When it's convenient to support your argument, now he's got Anthony Davis.
I don't know if
the man want to talk about
he
ain't really got Anthony Davis. That's what you said.
I don't know.
He's just on the roster.
I don't know if your grandfather did this at y'all church, but mine did. I'm going to lay hands on you. Come on to the altar. I'm going to lay hands on you and heal you. So lay some hands on Anthony Davis and heal him of the sickness in his body.
Why would he want to leave Philadelphia to go to L.A. and be the butt of your jokes? Because that's how it's going to go. Because he's going to be the next person to be the fall guy. They're going to be a fall. They're going to make him the fall guy, but it don't work out. No, it's the Lakers. Winning time is great, though, man. You got to watch that.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.